Some cars were built to impress. These were built to confuse, shock, or make people ask, what were they thinking? With bizarre shapes, outlandish features, and designs that broke every rule in the book, these machines weren't just rare, they were downright surreal. Most people have never even heard of them, let alone seen them in real life. Here are 12 super strangest cars ever made, and once you see them, you'll wonder how they ever rolled off the drawing board.
The 1976 Terrell P34 wasn't just a quirky footnote in racing history, it was a rolling testament to the fearless ingenuity and audacious spirit that defined Formula One's most daring decades. It arrived in an era when the sport still allowed the wildest engineering dreams to be turned into screaming, fuel-burning reality, and nothing before or since has ever looked quite like it. Even today, nearly half a century later, its alien six-wheeled silhouette still seems to belong more to a sketchbook on a designer's coffee table than to the brutal, unforgiving world of Grand Prix racing. The idea was born in the fertile mind of Derek Gardner, Terrell's chief designer, who dared to ask, what if more wheels meant more grip? And what if those extra wheels didn't make the car slower in a straight line? His solution was as bold as it was bizarre. Replace the standard 2 large front wheels with 4 smaller 10-inch wheels tucked neatly under low, sculpted fenders. The benefit was twofold. By reducing the size of the front tires, the car dramatically cut aerodynamic drag, and by doubling the number of contact patches at the front, it aimed to claw back cornering grip that might otherwise be lost. It sounded like fantasy, but Gardner and his team made it a reality. When the Terrell P34 rolled out onto the track, the paddock's first reaction was part shock, part disbelief, and a grudging respect for Terrell's nerve. This wasn't just a publicity stunt, it was a serious racing machine built with meticulous engineering. Powered by the reliable Ford Cosworth DFV V8, the P34 was quick right out of the box. Drivers Jody Scheckter and Patrick Depailler had reservations at first, especially about visibility over those wide front fenders and the sheer strangeness of the cockpit view. But they quickly discovered that the car's unique front-end grip let it brake later and dive into corners harder than conventional rivals. The car's moment of glory came at the 1976 Swedish Grand Prix, where Scheckter took victory and Depailler finished second. For a single glorious weekend, the paddock could only watch as a six-wheeler demolished the competition, proof that sometimes radical thinking pays off. That day remains etched in racing lore, the only time a six-wheeler ever stood on the top step of a Formula One podium. Yet while the concept was brilliant, the execution faced challenges that even Terrell's clever engineering couldn't completely overcome. The custom 10-inch front tires had to be made exclusively by Goodyear, who understandably devoted most of their resources to the standard-sized tires used by the rest of the grid. As the season wore on, the P34's front tires lagged in development, leaving the car unable to fully exploit its theoretical aerodynamic advantage. Reliability issues crept in too, and the car's unusual weight distribution added complexity to an already ambitious design. By 1977, Terrell furnished the design with an updated chassis and bodywork, but the fundamental issues remained. The limited tire development kept the P34 from evolving further, and rule changes, plus the ever-tightening budgets of a privateer team, made it increasingly unfeasible to keep pouring resources into something so specialized. At the end of 1977, the six-wheeled experiment quietly came to an end, and Formula One returned, permanently, to its four-wheeled norms. Yet the legacy of the Terrell P34 isn't one of failure, quite the opposite. It proved, if only briefly, that daring to do something utterly different could lead to real success on the track. It inspired other teams to explore equally radical ideas, even if none ever took quite so visually extreme a form. It cemented Terrell's place in the history books, not merely as a team that once won championships, but as the creators of perhaps the most visually iconic F1 car ever built. Decades later, the P34 still sparks fascination. It appears at vintage races and classic car festivals, drawing crowds who stare, smile, and ask, "Did that really race in Formula One?" And when they hear that, yes, not only did it race, it won, they understand why it's become an icon. It's a reminder of an era when racing wasn't just about playing it safe, but about trying something gloriously, defiantly weird. Because in the relentless pursuit of speed, sometimes it's the strangest ideas that shine the brightest, even if only for a moment. The P34 was weird enough to win, brave enough to try, and brilliant enough to never be forgotten. Living proof that in motorsport, as in life, it's often the boldest visions that leave the deepest mark. The 1966 Batmobile, created by George Barris for the now legendary Batman TV series, stands as one of the most delightfully outlandish and influential pieces of automotive design ever to burn rubber on screen. A car so audacious in style and purpose that it transcended its role as mere prop to become a living symbol of a cultural moment. Few vehicles in television history have sparked such universal fascination, laughter, and admiration, and even fewer have managed to remain etched in the popular imagination nearly 60 years later. The car's journey to icon status began with a piece of American automotive history already born from daring design, the 1955 Lincoln Futura concept. This was a machine so wild that even in an era of chrome rockets and sweeping fins, it looked futuristic beyond reason. With its twin-bubble canopies, long, low body, and flamboyant details, it was never meant for production, only for auto shows and dream brochures. Yet when 20th Century Fox and William Dozier's production team found themselves in need of a Batmobile, and quickly, the Futura was plucked from obscurity and handed to Barris, the Hollywood king of custom cars. Under a brutally tight deadline and limited budget, Barris's team transformed the Futura into something utterly new and utterly absurd. They draped it in gloss black, traced with fiery red pinstriping that highlighted every curve and crease. Gigantic wing-like rear fins swept backward, evoking both bat wings and the optimistic spirit of mid-century jet-age design. The nose was reworked to a sharp bat-like point, crowned with a glowing red bat emblem that seemed ready to swoop into the night. And then there were the touches that truly made it feel ripped from the pages of a comic book. Fake rockets sprouting from the rear deck, a single glowing red afterburner that threatened to turn city traffic into ash. Bizarrely labeled bat gadgets like the Bat Ray, Bat Phone, and Bat Turn lever, all of them barely functional but visually irresistible. Inside, the twin canopies provided a bubble of theatrical isolation for Batman and Robin, making them look both futuristic and heroically separate from ordinary mortals. Was it practical? Absolutely not. The afterburner didn't really boost speed. The gadgets were for show. The weight distribution was laughable, and the car guzzled fuel with the thirst of a muscle car trapped in the flamboyant body of a spaceship. But none of that mattered. What mattered was that it looked perfect in Technicolor on 1960s TV screens. Bold, ridiculous, and utterly unlike anything else on the road. The Batmobile quickly became the mechanical star of the show, a gleaming, flame-spitting co-conspirator in Batman and Robin's weekly battles against Gotham's most theatrical villains. It was as much a character as the heroes themselves, pulling up dramatically outside banks, lairs, and cliffside caves. Kids stared wide-eyed. Adults chuckled at its camp excess. The car didn't need to be realistic. This was fantasy brought to life, a four-wheeled promise that somewhere in a secret cave, extraordinary things were possible. Its fame didn't fade when the show ended. Decades later, the original Batmobile tours car shows, auctions, and museums, drawing crowds from every generation.
Replicas appear in parades and comic conventions, and every fan of the Caped Crusader seems to carry at least a mental snapshot of those unmistakable fins and glowing red lines. Even in an age of billion-dollar superhero blockbusters and hyper-realistic Batmobiles designed to survive apocalyptic urban warfare, the playful spirit of Barris's creation remains unmatched. The legacy of the 1966 Batmobile is not just about design, but about daring to go fully, joyfully over the top. It proved that imagination has value beyond function, that a car doesn't have to be fast, practical, or even entirely serious to become beloved and immortal. It stood for fun, for flair, for the childlike thrill of seeing something on wheels that absolutely shouldn't exist, yet somehow does. And that final question, would you dare daily drive something built to chase cartoon supervillains? It's tempting to say no. It's unwieldy, it's flamboyant, it's silly, and it would draw 1,000 stares at every stoplight. But deep down, maybe that's the point, because the Batmobile invites us to embrace the part of ourselves that still wants to be heroic, to be larger than life, and to live, even for a moment, in a world where logic takes a backseat to legend. In the end, the 1966 Batmobile wasn't built just to move Batman from crime scene to crime scene. It was built to move the imagination. And that's why decades later, it still speeds on in our collective memory, as immortal and unstoppable as the Dark Knight himself. The 1995 Fiat Multipla Bear 6x6 prototype stands as one of those gloriously bewildering artifacts of automotive history. A project that somehow managed to look both noble and comical at the same time, as if a design team set out to solve a serious mountain rescue problem but got distracted halfway through by an episode of Monty Python. Even today, decades later, it's almost impossible to see a photo of this six-wheeled creation without squinting, leaning closer, and asking, did they really build that? And yes, they did. The idea began, improbably enough, with the original Fiat Multipla, itself no stranger to controversy. When Fiat unveiled the production Multipla in the late 1990s, the car world collectively raised an eyebrow, or two. Its bulging, Farid-like upper headlights, perched above a lower set of lights, made it look permanently surprised, while its boxy body seemed purpose-built to defy every wind tunnel and stylist's pen. Yet underneath its unconventional looks, the standard Multipla had real virtues: a clever six-seat layout in a compact footprint, decent fuel economy, and a practicality that earned it a cult following among brave families. But the Bear 6x6 took that quirky practicality and pushed it straight into the realm of mountain rescue fantasy. Swiss coach builder Bear, known for building specialized utility vehicles, saw potential in the Multipla's roomy interior and robust underpinnings. Their vision: stretch the car, add a third axle for extra traction, and create a purpose-built alpine rescue vehicle that could ferry medics and stretchers across snow, slush, and the kinds of mountain passes that usually laugh in the face of standard road cars. In doing so, they turned the already awkward Multipla into something that looked like a prop from a surrealist film about winter. The car's rear was stretched dramatically, creating limousine-like proportions, but stopping well short of elegance. An extra pair of driven wheels sat under the extended rear section, giving the car an ungainly caterpillar-like stance. The raised ride height, snow chains, and ruggedized underbody hinted at genuine off-road intent, as if, despite its comical face, this vehicle could muscle its way through drifts and rescue stranded skiers. Inside, Bear reconfigured the rear to carry stretchers, medical gear, and personnel. The cabin retained its wide dash and panoramic windows, giving rescuers a sweeping view of icy landscapes. The idea was noble: a specialized vehicle that could respond quickly to emergencies, with more interior space and passenger comfort than a snowmobile or standard 4x4. It was an imaginative solution to a real problem faced by alpine rescue teams. Yet the project faced towering obstacles. Cost was the first and most stubborn. Building a six-wheel drive rescue multipla from scratch wasn't cheap, especially when every vehicle would need to be hand-built to order. Then came regulations. Crash safety, weight limits, and alpine road standards all demanded expensive engineering fixes. And perhaps most fatal of all was the market reality. Ski resorts and rescue services already rely on tried and tested machines like snowcats, Land Rovers, and purpose-built ambulances whose rugged durability had been proven over years of service. So, the Multipla Bear 6x6 prototype remained just that, a single, solitary prototype. No production run ever followed, and the project quietly faded from the headlines into the footnotes of automotive history. Today, its very existence feels like a delightful rumor come true. Yes, there really was a six-wheeled Fiat Multipla built to roam the Alps in search of the injured and lost. But beyond its practical failings, the Bear 6x6 remains deeply, disarmingly human in spirit. It represents that strange place where idealism, creativity, and sheer eccentricity overlap. A small team looking at a famously strange family car and seeing not an object of ridicule, but the bones of a life-saving machine. Even if no skier was ever rescued by its outstretched hand, the prototype itself rescued something from the ordinary, a spark of weird, wonderful ambition. And so we're left with that final, irresistible question. Could you rescue someone while they tried not to laugh at your car? The answer is yes, and perhaps the laughter would make the rescue sweeter. Because in the end, the Fiat Multipla Bear 6x6 wasn't just about saving lives in the snow. It was about daring to imagine that even the most unusual, unloved, and overlooked vehicles could become heroes in their own unexpected way. And that, bizarre or not, is a legacy worth remembering.
The 1973 Volkswagen SP2 is one of the most fascinating and paradoxical automobiles ever to roll off an assembly line. A car that perfectly embodies the phrase beauty over brawn, and yet tells a deeper story about innovation, culture, and identity in a very particular time and place. Designed exclusively for the Brazilian market, where strict import restrictions and local content laws forced automakers to rethink their strategies, the SP2 was Volkswagen do Brasil's bold attempt to craft a genuine sports car that could capture imaginations and hearts alike. It was an ambitious project that would ultimately result in a vehicle whose appearance belied its mechanical modesty, and whose legacy continues to captivate enthusiasts and collectors around the world decades later. At first glance, the SP2 is a triumph of design. Conceived by the talented Marcio Piancastelli, a visionary Brazilian designer, the car's lines are a seamless blend of elegance and aggression. Its long, sweeping hood stretches forward like a panther poised to pounce, while the sharply sloping fastback roofline and sculpted rear quarters convey motion even at a standstill. The front end, with its dual sets of headlights stacked vertically, adds a unique personality that is both bold and approachable, combining European sports car flair with a distinct local flair. The coupe's low, wide stance hugs the road, creating an impression of speed and agility that sparks excitement in anyone lucky enough to see one in person. In many ways, the SP2 looks every bit the exotic sports car that its designers envisioned. Yet the heart of the SP2 tells a different story. Beneath the rear engine cover lies a 1.7-liter air-cooled flat-4 engine, essentially a beefed-up version of the power plant used in the ubiquitous Volkswagen Beetle. Producing a modest 65 horsepower, this engine was never intended to propel the SP2 to racing glory. Its performance was gentle, even humble, with a leisurely acceleration and a top speed that could barely breach the 100-mile-per-hour mark. For enthusiasts craving speed and power, the SP2's performance figures might have been a disappointment, even a punchline. It earned the affectionate nickname the Beautiful Snail, or O Lindo Caracol in Portuguese, a wry nod to the gulf between its breathtaking looks and its unhurried pace. But to reduce the SP2 to merely a pretty face with a slow engine would be to miss the point entirely. The car's story is inseparable from the unique social and economic conditions of 1970s Brazil. Faced with protectionist policies and a desire to foster local industry, Volkswagen do Brasil was forced to innovate within tight constraints. Imported sports cars, with their expensive components and foreign technology, were largely out of reach for the average Brazilian buyer. The SP2 then was a compromise, a car designed to give Brazilian consumers a taste of sports car glamour without the prohibitive costs or import restrictions. In this context, the SP2 was not just a car, but a symbol of aspiration and national pride. It was proof that Brazilian engineering and design could produce something truly special. The SP2 found a passionate following in its home country. Owners took pride in driving a vehicle that turned heads everywhere, even if it wasn't the fastest car on the block. Its unmistakable style made it a standout in the traffic jam of Beetles, pickups, and sedans, and its rarity only added to its mystique. Enthusiasts today regard the SP2 as a cultural icon, a piece of automotive history that speaks to the creativity and resilience of a market adapting to its own unique challenges. Over time, the Beautiful Snail nickname has shifted from a mild jab to a term of endearment. Fans celebrate the SP2's contradictions, how it combines exotic design with humble engineering, and how it reminds us that cars are more than just speed. They're about style, identity, and the joy of driving something truly distinct. This duality makes the SP2 endlessly fascinating. It challenges the conventional wisdom that a sports car must always be fast, loud, and aggressive. Instead, it invites us to reconsider what makes a car lovable. Is it the thrill of acceleration or the emotional connection forged through design and history? For many, the SP2's answer is clear. Beauty and character can outshine horsepower any day. So, can a slow car be so beautiful that everyone forgives its lack of speed? The 1973 Volkswagen SP2 proves that it can. Its timeless, exotic styling continues to captivate car lovers worldwide, while its story remains a testament to innovation in the face of adversity. The SP2 didn't just race along Brazil's roads. It raced into the hearts of generations, reminding us all that sometimes a car's greatest power lies in its ability to inspire and delight rather than dominate and conquer. The 1960 BMW 700 RS is a remarkable and often overlooked chapter in automotive history, a car whose significance goes far beyond its modest size and seemingly quirky appearance. At a time when BMW was struggling to stay afloat amid financial uncertainty and fierce competition in the post-war automotive market, the 700 RS emerged as a symbol of resilience, innovation, and the indomitable spirit that would come to define the brand for decades to come. While it may appear at first glance like a squashed, lightweight oddity, beneath its deceptively simple exterior lies a story of racing success, engineering brilliance, and a pivotal moment that helped preserve BMW's legacy. The BMW 700 Coupe, upon which the RS was based, was itself an unassuming and practical small car designed for the mass market. However, the engineers and racing enthusiasts at BMW had grander ambitions for this humble machine. The
The 700 RS was born as a lightweight racing special, designed to extract every ounce of performance from the modest platform. It looked as if someone had taken the standard coupe and pressed it flat. Its low-slung body stretched wide, with aggressively flared fenders that housed racing-spec tires designed for grip rather than comfort. The open cockpit stripped away any extraneous features, reducing weight to the bare minimum and focusing solely on driver engagement and speed. Underneath the compact bodywork, the 700 RS carried a tiny but spirited 70 horsepower flat-twin engine. While 70 horsepower might seem insignificant today, in a car weighing less than 1,000 kilograms, or about 2,200 pounds, this power was enough to generate a lively and competitive performance on tight racing circuits. The car's lightweight nature gave it an exceptional power-to-weight ratio, allowing it to accelerate quickly and handle nimbly through corners, where bigger, heavier cars struggled to keep up. The 700 RS was a masterclass in the philosophy that less can be more, the perfect blend of simplicity, balance, and purpose-built engineering. But the 700 RS was much more than just a clever little race car. It was a lifeline for BMW during a perilous time. In the late 1950s and early 60s, BMW faced serious financial troubles, teetering on the brink of collapse. The company's future was uncertain, and there was a desperate need to prove that BMW could compete not only in the marketplace, but also on the racetrack, where prestige and brand image were forged. The 700 Coupe's commercial success helped stabilize the company financially, but it was the racing exploits of the 700 RS that rekindled passion among enthusiasts and redefined BMW's identity as a maker of performance-oriented vehicles. Only 2 BMW 700 RS cars were ever built, underscoring the exclusivity and rarity of this extraordinary machine. These 2 cars represent a crucial bridge between BMW's uncertain past and its thrilling future. They demonstrated that even a tiny, lightweight car with a modest engine could deliver thrilling racing results and bring honor to the BMW badge. The 700 RS's success on the track sent a powerful message. BMW was not just a maker of practical, everyday cars, but a brand with racing pedigree, technical prowess, and a commitment to driving excitement. The legacy of the 700 RS extends far beyond its era. It laid the groundwork for BMW's future racing and performance programs, inspiring generations of engineers and designers who would go on to create some of the most celebrated sports cars in history. From the legendary 202 to the iconic M Series, the DNA of the 700 RS's lightweight, driver-focused philosophy can be traced through BMW's entire performance lineage. Looking back at the 1960 BMW 700 RS, it's clear that this weird little car was anything but insignificant. It was a beacon of hope in a difficult time, a symbol of innovation under pressure, and a testament to the idea that passion and clever engineering can overcome even the most daunting challenges. In a world often obsessed with horsepower and size, the 700 RS reminds us that true performance is about balance, precision, and heart. In the end, the 700 RS is more than just a flattened, wide-bodied race car with a modest engine. It is the story of a brand saved by ingenuity and determination. Sometimes it is the smallest, strangest, and most unlikely heroes that leave the biggest mark. The 700 RS is one of those heroes, a quirky but brilliant car that not only won races, but helped ensure the survival and future success of one of the world's most beloved automakers. The 1989 Nissan S Cargo is far more than just a tiny van designed for city couriers. It's a living testament to the power of creativity, whimsy, and the willingness to embrace the unconventional in automotive design. Emerging from Nissan's innovative Pike Factory series, a specialized branch dedicated to crafting uniquely styled, retro-inspired niche vehicles, the S Cargo represents a rare moment when a major manufacturer boldly stepped away from the trends of the era to create something truly memorable, playful, and utterly original. At a glance, the S Cargo's most defining feature is its irresistibly quirky shape, which unmistakably mimics the slow, deliberate curve of a snail's shell. This wasn't a subtle nod, but a full-throated celebration of eccentricity, reflected in every curve, bulge, and rounded contour of its body. The very name, S Cargo, cleverly plays on the French word escargot, meaning snail, perfectly encapsulating the van's distinctive character. Unlike the sharp angles and aerodynamic aggressiveness that characterized much of the late 80s automotive styling, the S Cargo's form was soft, bulbous, and almost cartoon-like, a bold design statement that made it instantly recognizable on Japan's crowded city streets. This snail-like exterior wasn't just for show, it was an invitation to slow down and appreciate the joy of driving something different, something that defied conventional norms. The oversized headlights, placed prominently on either side, resembled the stalks of a snail's eyes, giving the front end a friendly, approachable face that contrasted sharply with the harsh, utilitarian designs of many commercial vehicles. Its compact dimensions made it incredibly maneuverable, perfectly suited to the tight confines of urban environments, while the surprisingly spacious cargo area behind the driver's seat made it practical for deliveries and small business use. Inside, the S Cargo was stripped back yet thoughtfully designed. Prioritizing utility without sacrificing style, the cabin offered drivers and passengers a comfortable space free of unnecessary clutter. Controls were straightforward and easy to use, reflecting the purpose of the car as a practical urban tool. But beyond its function, the interior echoed the exterior's quirky personality. Unique details, rounded shapes, and clever touches gave the S Cargo an identity all its own, one that invited drivers to smile every time they slid behind the wheel. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the S Cargo is what it represented culturally and philosophically. At a time when Japanese automakers, and indeed the entire global auto industry, were focused on performance numbers, fuel efficiency, and aerodynamic optimization, Nissan's Pike factory dared to go against the grain. The S Cargo embodied a spirit of playful rebellion, an embrace of the joy and delight that cars can bring when freed from the chains of conventional expectations. It was a reminder that vehicles aren't just machines for transport. They can be expressions of personality, creativity, and even humor. This willingness to celebrate the odd and the unconventional earned the S Cargo a dedicated cult following. City couriers, creative professionals, and car enthusiasts alike gravitated toward it, not just for its practicality, but for its character and charm. The S Cargo was a rolling antidote to the often sterile, overly serious world of automotive design, proving that a car doesn't need to be fast or flashy to make a lasting impact. Its snail-inspired silhouette became a symbol of individuality and the courage to be different, especially in a market saturated with sameness. Today, the Nissan S Cargo stands as a beloved collector's item and a shining example of how embracing weirdness can lead to timeless design. It's celebrated not only for its functionality and quirky looks, but for its role in challenging the industry's status quo. By daring to be different, Nissan's little snail-shaped van carved out its own unique niche in automotive history, a niche that continues to inspire designers and enthusiasts who believe that personality and creativity are just as important as horsepower and speed. So, can a snail-shaped car truly become a design icon? The Nissan S Cargo didn't just answer that question, it redefined what it means to be iconic. Slowly, deliberately, and with undeniable charm, it crawled its way into the hearts of drivers and collectors around the world, proving that someness.
The 1961 Amphicar Model 770 is without question one of the most audacious and endearing vehicles ever produced. A shining example of human ingenuity wrapped in a shell of pure whimsy.
At a glance, it might seem like an eccentric novelty, but the story behind this amphibious automobile reveals a fascinating chapter in automotive history, where engineers dared to imagine a car that could seamlessly traverse both land and water. The Amphicar wasn't just a concept or a showpiece. It was a fully functional, road-legal vehicle that also doubled as a boat, breaking barriers that no other mass-produced car had attempted before or since. Underneath its cheerful, slightly bulbous exterior, the Amphicar hid an ingenious engineering feat. Two propellers tucked neatly beneath its rear allowed it to glide through water, powered by the same engine that moved it on roads. This dual-purpose design promised an unprecedented kind of freedom. Imagine driving your car down a country road, reaching a serene lake or river, and then simply steering it into the water to continue your journey as a boat. In the early 1960s, this was nothing short of revolutionary, a true marvel of creative problem-solving and playful innovation. The idea of blending two very different modes of transportation into one raised eyebrows and sparked imaginations around the world. However, while the Amphicar's concept was undeniably brilliant, the reality of owning and operating one came with a host of compromises. On land, the Amphicar's performance was modest. Its top speed barely touched 70 miles per hour, which was respectable but hardly thrilling for those accustomed to faster cars. More challenging was its behavior in the water. The Amphicar could reach about 7 knots, which translated to a slow, steady pace rather than any kind of speedboat excitement. Steering on water was particularly tricky. The steering wheel controlled the front wheels on land, but once afloat, the driver had to rely on the rear propellers and rudders, resulting in a vague, sometimes frustrating handling experience that required patience and practice. Owners often recounted stories of wet feet due to leaks around the seals, as well as the amusing spectacle of trying to master the vehicle's dual personalities. Despite these quirks and imperfections, the Amphicar has remained beloved by enthusiasts and collectors precisely because of its unique character and the joy it brought its owners. Fewer than 4,000 were ever built, making it a rare artifact of automotive history and a prized collector's item today. More than a car or a boat, the Amphicar became a symbol of a different kind of driving experience, one rooted in fun, experimentation, and the thrill of something entirely out of the ordinary. It's a vehicle that invites a smile, not just for its unusual looks, but for the story it tells about daring to be different in an era of conformity. Beyond its novelty, the Amphicar prompts us to reflect on deeper questions about innovation and lifestyle. Would you trade your traditional car and weekend boat for a single vehicle that promises versatility but excels at neither? For many, the answer lies in the spirit of adventure that the Amphicar embodies. It's not about perfect performance, but about embracing the unexpected, the quirky, and the joyful unpredictability of a machine that invites you to explore new possibilities, even if it means getting a little wet or wrestling with strange steering. The Amphicar embodies a philosophy that values experience and imagination over mere utility or speed. In hindsight, the Amphicar was ahead of its time in many ways, foreshadowing the modern obsession with crossovers and multifunctional vehicles. It showed that the boundaries between vehicle types can be blurred, that innovation often requires risk and sacrifice, and that sometimes the most memorable machines aren't those that win races or dominate highways, but those that capture our hearts with their boldness and personality. So when you consider the 1961 Amphicar Model 770, you're not just looking at a car that can float, you're glimpsing a fascinating story of creativity, daring, and playful engineering. It's a rare, cherished piece of history that reminds us the automotive world can be as imaginative and joyful as any other art form. Would you give up your separate car and boat for this whimsical hybrid, accepting its quirks and challenges for the promise of an unforgettable adventure? For those who answer yes, the Amphicar is not just a vehicle, It's a lifelong passion, a conversation starter, and a beloved symbol of automotive wonder that continues to inspire and enchant to this day.
The 1974 Marcos Mantis XP stands as one of the most striking, enigmatic, and polarizing creations in the annals of automotive history. A wild British prototype that seems to defy conventional design norms and embrace a form so audacious it might have been inspired by extraterrestrial creatures or the pages of a sci-fi graphic novel. From the moment you lay eyes on it, the Mantis XP demands your full attention, commanding you to rethink everything you thought you knew about what a car should look like. This is no ordinary vehicle. It's a kinetic sculpture, a fusion of aggressive aerodynamics and wild imagination, shaped like a gleaming metallic insect ready to pounce. Its silhouette is unlike anything else on four wheels. The roofline swoops so low and sleek that it barely clears the waistline of an average adult, creating an ultra-low profile that hugs the ground with an almost predatory grace. The rear haunches swell outward like a crouching beast, muscular and tense, hinting at the power concealed beneath that exotic shell. The long, slanted nose and narrow cockpit amplify the car's sense of motion even when standing still, as if it's perpetually poised to burst forward at any instant. The design is unapologetically futuristic, with sharp angles and smooth curves, blending into a form that evokes both fascination and unease. It's as if the Marcos Mantis XP was not just built for the road, but was forged in another world, one where engineering meets art and biology in a seamless dance. This automotive oddity was more than just a stylistic experiment. It was a bona fide race car. The Mantis XP made its fleeting but memorable mark on motorsport history by competing once at Spa-Francorchamps, one of the most challenging and prestigious circuits in the world. For that brief moment under the bright lights of international racing, the Mantis demonstrated not only its aggressive looks, but also its raw, untamed performance potential. Drivers and spectators alike were captivated by its radical design and the promise of what it could achieve on the track. But as quickly as it arrived, the Mantis vanished from the racing scene, retreating into the shadows of private ownership. It became a legend whispered about in enthusiast circles, a cult icon prized not for widespread success, but for its sheer uniqueness and the story of what might have been. For the passionate few who have embraced the Mantis XP, it's far more than just a car. It's a symbol of rebellion, creativity, and the relentless pursuit of pushing boundaries. This is a vehicle born in an era of fearless experimentation, when automotive visionaries dared to break free from the constraints of convention and explore the wildest edges of design and performance. The Marcos Mantis XP embodies that spirit perfectly, challenging us to reconsider what's possible in a sports car and daring us to celebrate individuality in a world often dominated by sameness. However, to many others, the Mantis XP's design remains a mystery and a challenge to the senses. Its alien silhouette, sharp edges, and almost insect-like posture can seem unsettling or even monstrous to those who prefer more traditional automotive aesthetics. The very features that make the Mantis so captivating to some, its narrow cockpit, its sweeping low roof, its muscular haunches, can appear odd or even off-putting to others. It's a car that divides opinion, provoking strong reactions ranging from admiration to bewilderment. This polarizing effect is part of what makes the Marcos Mantis XP so fascinating. It forces us to confront our own biases and definitions of beauty, performance, and even normalcy. Is the Marcos Mantis XP a masterpiece of design, a creature of futuristic elegance, or a bizarre oddity that defies taste? The truth is, it can be all these things at once, depending on the angle from which you view it. Beauty, after all, is subjective.
It's shaped by personal experience, cultural context, and emotional response. The Mantis XP is a vivid reminder that innovation in design is rarely comfortable or universally accepted. True breakthroughs often provoke discomfort before they win hearts. In embracing the Marcos Mantis XP, enthusiasts celebrate the car's boldness and its refusal to conform. It is a testament to the fearless spirit of the 1970s, a decade when automotive boundaries were pushed aggressively and sometimes recklessly in the quest for uniqueness and speed. The Mantis XP serves as a beacon for those who appreciate cars not merely as transportation, but as expressions of identity, art, and defiance. It is not just a car, but a legend, one that continues to inspire curiosity, debate, and admiration decades after it first crawled onto the scene. The 1957 Aurora safety car stands as a remarkable testament to one man's unwavering dedication to the cause of automotive safety long before the industry at large took such concerns seriously. Conceived and designed by Father Alfred Giuliano, a Catholic priest driven by a deep sense of responsibility and compassion, the Aurora was meant to be more than just a vehicle. It was a mobile sanctuary, engineered to protect its occupants from the dangers of the road in ways that were decades ahead of its time. In an era when cars prioritized style, speed, and chrome over safety, Giuliano's creation boldly turned that idea on its head, putting human life first and envisioning a future where collisions wouldn't mean disaster. The Aurora's design was as radical as its purpose. Its most distinctive feature was its enormous, bulbous front end, engineered to deform and absorb impact energy in the event of a crash. Unlike the sleek, sharp lines popular in the 1950s, the Aurora's oversized crumple zone jutted forward awkwardly, giving the car a comical yet purposeful, cartoonish appearance. But beneath that exaggerated facade lay serious engineering intent. Giuliano believed that by allowing the front of the car to deform gradually, the force of a collision could be dramatically reduced, minimizing injury to passengers inside. In addition to this, the car featured padded dashboards, a rarity at the time, and seatbelts long before they were standard equipment, reflecting Giuliano's commitment to preventing harm wherever possible. The proportions of the Aurora were unconventional, to say the least. Its front overhang was far longer than typical vehicles, throwing off the car's visual balance and making it look somewhat ungainly. The cabin itself was roomy and designed with safety in mind, emphasizing visibility and occupant protection over flashy aesthetics. The overall silhouette didn't turn heads for beauty. Instead, it demanded attention for its earnest and almost naive approach to safety. While other manufacturers focused on fins, tailpipes, and shiny details to capture buyers' imaginations, Giuliano was crafting a vehicle that seemed to say, "Here is a car that cares more about your life than your looks." Unfortunately, Giuliano's visionary project was ahead of its time in more ways than one. The public and industry weren't ready for a car that looked so unconventional. And worse yet, the sheer cost of designing and building such a specialized safety machine fell entirely on Giuliano's shoulders. Only one Aurora safety car was ever built, and the financial strain bankrupted Father Giuliano, forcing the project to end in heartbreaking obscurity. Despite this, the Aurora's legacy quietly rippled through the decades, planting seeds that would later grow into the mandatory safety features we now accept as standard. Seatbelts, energy-absorbing bumpers, padded interiors, and crumple zones are all concepts that the Aurora anticipated well before they became common. The Aurora safety car forces us to reflect on a fundamental tension in automotive design: the clash between safety and style. In the 1950s, flashy designs with chrome and fins defined what a car was supposed to look like, and anything that disrupted that formula was often met with ridicule or disinterest. The Aurora, with its bulbous front and awkward silhouette, sacrificed traditional beauty in pursuit of a noble cause: saving lives. It's a vivid reminder that sometimes innovation requires courage to prioritize what truly matters, even if it means losing the approval of the masses. Today, the Aurora safety car occupies a special place in automotive history, not as a commercial success, but as a pioneering spirit that challenged the status quo. It represents the dreams of a man who dared to rethink how cars should protect us and laid the groundwork for the safer vehicles we drive now. While it never captured hearts with its looks, it earned respect through its vision, embodying a heartfelt commitment to human life that transcended style trends and marketing gimmicks. Would you drive a car that looks like a rolling cartoon if it promised to save your life in a crash? The Aurora safety car dares us to ask that question and reminds us that sometimes the bravest designs are the ones that choose substance over style, safety over flash, and in doing so, change the course of automotive history forever. The 1990 Consul GTP is one of the most fascinating, underappreciated, and downright revolutionary cars to come out of the American automotive scene. A true sleeper that quietly shook the foundations of professional racing and challenged the very notion of what a high-performance sports car could be. At first glance, the Consul GTP doesn't look like much. Its boxy, angular design and blunt aerodynamics give it the appearance of something more utilitarian than exotic. Some have even compared its shape to a breeze block on wheels. It lacks the curvaceous, aerodynamic beauty typical of supercars or race cars of its era. Yet, beneath that deceptively plain exterior lies an engineering marvel, a machine built from cutting-edge materials like carbon fiber and Kevlar, which kept the car's weight astonishingly low, under 2,000 pounds, making it incredibly nimble and responsive on the track. The heart of the Consul GTP is its turbocharged engine, which delivered a ferocious surge of power that belied its unassuming looks. Combining this potent power plant with its featherweight body and mid-engine layout gave the GTP a performance edge few rivals could match. Its acceleration was blistering, its handling razor-sharp, and its ability to stick to the road in corners was uncanny. Drivers who piloted the GTP described it as a weapon, a pure driver's car that demanded respect and rewarded precision. In the fiercely competitive world of IMSA racing, the Consul GTP didn't just compete, it dominated. It blew past more established, expensive, and flashier rivals, racking up wins and podiums with a ruthless efficiency that unsettled officials and competitors alike. So complete was its domination that racing authorities had no choice but to step in and ban the Consul GTP from certain competitions, effectively shutting down what could have been a long and storied racing career. This rare fate is reserved only for machines that are so superior, so far ahead of the pack, that their continued presence threatens the integrity and excitement of the sport. The Consul GTP was simply too good, a phenomenon that speaks volumes about both its engineering excellence and the competitive nature of professional racing. When a car wins so often and so decisively that it forces rule changes or bans, it becomes a legend not only for its speed, but for the disruption it caused. Off the track, however, the Consul GTP's story takes a different turn. Its styling, often described as Spartan, angular, and downright unattractive by traditional standards, failed to inspire the kind of passion that more glamorous supercars evoke. The interior was equally minimalistic, designed with a focus on weight savings and performance rather than luxury or comfort. For everyday drivers or casual enthusiasts, the GTP's raw, no-frills approach was a hard sell. It lacked the creature comforts and flash that many buyers sought, and its unconventional looks kept it out of the spotlight and out of mainstream desirability. In other words, it was a car designed by racers for racers, not for those looking to make a style statement or enjoy a cushy ride. Warren Mosler, the visionary engineer and entrepreneur behind the Consul GTP, embraced this reality with a mixture of pride and defiance. He famously called the car "too good to race," a tongue-in-cheek acknowledgement of its dominance and the racing world's reluctance to embrace such an underdog powerhouse. The GTP embodied the purest form of performance engineering: light, neat construction, aggressive power delivery, and razor-sharp handling, uncompromised by unnecessary frills. It was a statement against the bloated, over-engineered sports cars of the time, and a showcase of how ingenuity and boldness could produce something extraordinary on a modest budget. With only about 100 examples ever made, the Consul GTP remains a rare and coveted artifact for collectors and enthusiasts who appreciate its bold departure from convention. It represents a moment when American automotive innovation reached into the future, crafting a car that challenged assumptions and redefined expectations. Its story is of brilliance overshadowed by aesthetics, of raw talent overshadowed by marketing, and of a legend that, despite its low profile, commands deep respect in racing circles. The tale of the Consul GTP forces us to ask tough questions about what truly makes a car great. Is it beauty and luxury, or is it the unyielding pursuit of speed, balance, and performance? When a car wins so much that it's forced out of competition, it reminds us that in racing, as in life, being the best sometimes means you're also the most unwelcome. The Consul GTP's legacy endures as a testament to the power of innovation, the thrill of competition, and the bittersweet reality of being too far ahead of your time. The 1959 Cadillac Cyclone stands as one of the most mesmerizing and audacious symbols of the 1950s American automotive imagination. A time when car designers weren't just building vehicles, they were crafting visions of the future that blended science fiction, aerospace technology, and pure artistic bravado. Conceived during an era saturated with space race fever and jet age enthusiasm, the Cyclone wasn't merely a concept car. It was an embodiment of the cultural optimism and technological aspirations of post-war America. Every inch of its design screamed futurism, from its sharply pointed rocket-inspired nose cones that housed radar equipment to its sweeping, silver-tinted bubble canopy that retracted with an otherworldly grace. The Cyclone looked less like a car and more like a spaceship poised to launch into the stratosphere. One of the most groundbreaking features of the Cyclone was its primitive collision avoidance radar system embedded within those front nose cones. Decades before modern cars would boast adaptive cruise control and sophisticated sensors, Cadillac envisioned a technology that could see obstacles and enhance driver safety in a way that was simply unimaginable at the time. This early foray into automotive electronics showcased a visionary approach to integrating futuristic tech with everyday driving, making the Cyclone not just a spectacle of design, but a pioneering statement in vehicle safety innovation. However, as remarkable as this was, the radar was just one piece of the Cyclone's bold personality. The cockpit-like bubble canopy was an arresting feature, a silver-tinted dome that could automatically retract to allow entry and exit. It looked like something straight out of a science fiction movie, transforming the driver and passenger seats into a pilot's station rather than a typical car interior. But as beautiful as the canopy was to behold, it came with severe practical drawbacks. Owners and observers quickly discovered that the bubble's glass trapped heat, turning the interior into a sauna under direct sunlight. This greenhouse effect made the car less a practical cruiser and more an oven on wheels, a glaring example of the tension between avant-garde aesthetics and everyday usability. Perhaps the most bizarre and infamous quirk of the Cyclone was its exhaust system, which exited out in front of the doors rather than the rear. While this design choice might have contributed to the car's dramatic futuristic look, it introduced a dangerous hazard. The hot exhaust gases would roast the shins and lower legs of anyone stepping out, causing discomfort or even burns. This oversight underscored how the Cyclone's wild vision sometimes came at the expense of common sense and user safety. A reminder that cutting-edge design can sometimes clash with practical reality. Cadillac never intended the Cyclone to be a production vehicle. Instead, it was built purely to dazzle audiences at auto shows, capturing imaginations with its rocket-age styling and innovative features. It was a rolling spectacle, a manifestation of a culture enthralled by space travel and technological progress, embodying the fearless spirit of the late 1950s, when the boundaries between cars and rockets seemed delightfully blurred. Today, the 1959 Cadillac Cyclone remains a stunning artifact of a unique time, a moment when designers dared to leap into the unknown with reckless abandon, trusting that the allure of the future was worth the sacrifice of comfort or practicality. It invites us to ponder the complex relationship between innovation and usability, beauty and function. Was it a visionary ahead of its time, planting seeds for technologies that would revolutionize driving decades later? Or was it a beautiful folly, a concept so far removed from everyday life that it was doomed to remain forever a dream? The answer might lie somewhere in between. Would you have the courage to slip into the bubble canopy of a car that looks like it landed from another planet, knowing full well that it could scorch your skin as you stepped out? The Cadillac Cyclone challenges us to imagine a future that's wild, bright, and imperfect. A future where the pursuit of the extraordinary can sometimes mean embracing the impractical, but always daring to dream bigger than before. It is a shining reminder that the road to innovation is paved with bold ideas, unexpected risks, and unforgettable style.